Tonight, the world is watching a single question with consequences that stretch far beyond the borders of Ukraine. Will the $10 billion military aid package arrive in time? In the shadow of escalating conflict, the stakes have never been higher. For months, Ukrainian officials have warned that their defenses are stretched thin, their ammunition stocks dwindling, and their soldiers exhausted by relentless Russian offensives. The promise of a massive new aid package from the United States and its allies has become a lifeline, a symbol of hope, but also a source of anxiety. As bureaucratic hurdles, political debates, and logistical challenges threaten to delay the delivery, the clock is ticking. Every day that passes without these critical supplies is a day that could tip the balance on the battlefield. Tonight, we go inside the corridors of power, the supply lines, and the front lines themselves to uncover the real story behind the aid package. What's in it? Why is it taking so long? And most importantly, what happens if it doesn't arrive in time? The answers could determine not just the fate of Ukraine, but the future of the entire region. The $10 billion military aid package is more than just a number. It's a complex web of weapons, ammunition, technology, and training. Each piece vital to Ukraine's survival. Inside the package are advanced air defense systems designed to intercept Russian missiles, precision-guided artillery shells to counter enemy advances, armored vehicles to reinforce battered brigades, and drones to provide real-time intelligence. But the process of moving these assets from warehouses in the west to the trenches of the Donbass is anything but simple. Every shipment must navigate a labyrinth of approvals, customs checks, and security protocols. Political infighting in donor countries can stall decisions for weeks. Even after approval, the logistics of transporting heavy equipment across continents, through vulnerable supply routes, and into active war zones present enormous risks. Russian forces are well aware of these vulnerabilities, targeting supply convoys and infrastructure in an attempt to choke off Ukraine's lifeline. For Ukrainian commanders, the uncertainty is agonizing. They plan operations around promises, not guarantees. Knowing that a single delay could mean the difference between holding the line and losing ground, the stakes are not abstract. They are measured in lives, territory, the very survival of a nation in Washington. The debate over the aid package has become a microcosm of larger geopolitical tensions. Lawmakers argue over the scope, the cost, and the long-term strategy, each side invoking history and national interest. Some warn that unchecked support could draw the United States deeper into a conflict with unpredictable consequences, while others insist that failing to act decisively would embolden Russia and undermine the credibility of the West. Behind closed doors, military advisors and intelligence officials brief Congress on the urgency of the situation, presenting classified assessments that paint a stark picture without immediate resupply. Ukraine's ability to resist could collapse within weeks. Yet even as the evidence mounts, political gridlock persists. Election cycles, partisan rivalries, and competing priorities slow the process, turning what should be a straightforward act of support into a high-stakes negotiation. Meanwhile, Ukrainian diplomats shuttle between capitals, pleading their case, reminding allies that every delay is measured in blood and lost ground. The contrast between the urgency on the front lines and the deliberation in legislative chambers could not be sharper. For those fighting and dying in Ukraine, the debate is not about politics, it's about survival. On the ground in Ukraine, the anticipation surrounding the aid package is palpable. Soldiers scan the skies for Russian drones, knowing that a single strike could devastate their already limited supplies. Commanders ration ammunition, making impossible choices about which positions to reinforce and which to abandon. In makeshift bunkers, volunteers repair battered vehicles and patch up wounded comrades. All while rumors swirl about when the next shipment might arrive. The promise of new weapons and equipment is both a beacon of hope and a source of frustration. Each day without resupply erodes morale, as frontline units wonder if help will come before it's too late. Civilians, too, feel the pressure. In cities under constant threat, families huddle in basements, listening to the distant thunder of artillery and praying that Western support will hold. The aid package is more than a military calculation. It's a psychological lifeline. a signal that Ukraine is not alone. But as the days drag on, hope is tempered by fear. The question echoes from the trenches to the capital. Will the world deliver on its promises? Or will Ukraine be left to face the storm alone? As the world debates and Ukraine waits, Russia is not standing still. Intelligence reports indicate that Moscow is closely monitoring the aid package's progress, adjusting its own strategies in anticipation. Russian commanders have accelerated their offensives in key sectors, now seeking to exploit any window of Ukrainian vulnerability before Western reinforcements arrive. Propaganda channels flood the airwaves with messages designed to sow doubt among Ukrainian troops and their allies, suggesting that the promised aid is a mirage, that the West will ultimately falter. Behind the front lines, Russian cyber units ramp up attacks on logistics networks, aiming to disrupt the flow of supplies and gather intelligence on shipment routes. The Kremlin's calculus is clear. If they can outpace the arrival of Western aid, they may be able to force a breakthrough, seize new territory, and shift the momentum of the war. For Ukraine, this is a race against time, a contest not just of firepower, but of endurance, will, and trust. The outcome will depend as much on the speed and reliability of Western support as on the courage and resilience of those defending their homeland. Inside NATO headquarters, the sense of urgency is unmistakable. Military planners work around the clock, coordinating with allies to expedite shipments and close logistical gaps. Every detail matters. Flight paths must avoid hostile airspace. Convoys require armed escorts, and sensitive equipment demands secure handling. Intelligence officers monitor Russian troop movements in real time, looking for signs that Moscow might attempt to intercept or sabotage incoming aid. Diplomatic channels buzz with activity as leaders reassure each other of their commitments. Even as domestic pressures threaten to erode consensus, the alliance faces a delicate balancing act, delivering enough support to make a difference without provoking a wider confrontation. For some member states, the aid package is a test of unity and resolve. For others, it is a reminder of the risks inherent in confronting a nuclear-armed adversary. Yet, despite the challenges, there is a growing recognition that the cost of inaction could be far greater than the risks of engagement. As one senior official put it, if we hesitate now, we may pay a much higher price later. The clock is ticking, and every hour counts. For Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the stakes are deeply personal. Each day, he addresses his nation with a mix of resolve and urgency, rallying citizens to endure yet another round of hardship while appealing to the world for solidarity. Behind the scenes, Zelensky's team works tirelessly to maintain international support, counter Russian disinformation, and keep morale high among both soldiers and civilians. The aid package is not just a matter of military logistics. It is a test of Ukraine's relationships with its allies and its ability to inspire continued commitment. Zelensky knows that every delay, every political squabble in foreign capitals is watched closely by both friend and foe. His government has streamlined customs procedures, mobilized volunteers, and even launched public campaigns to track and report on the arrival of Western aid. The message is clear. Ukraine is doing everything in its power to hold the line, but it cannot do so alone. The world's response will not only shape the outcome of this war, but will also send a message to other nations facing aggression. In Kyiv, hope and anxiety walk hand in hand as the days slip by and the world's attention shifts from one crisis to the next. The fate of the $10 billion military aid package hangs in the balance. In Kyiv, in Washington, in Brussels, and on the battered front lines, everyone knows that the next few weeks could define not just the outcome of this war, but the future of global security itself. The choices made now by politicians, generals, and ordinary citizens will echo far beyond Ukraine's borders. Will the aid arrive in time to turn the tide? Or will hesitation and delay hand Moscow the advantage it seeks? The answer is not yet written, but one truth is clear. History is watching, and the world will remember who stood firm when the stakes were highest. In this moment, as the clock ticks and the shadows lengthen, the question is no longer just about weapons or money. It is about resolve, unity, and the willingness to act before it is too late. The world stands at a crossroads, and the next move will shape the destiny of a nation and perhaps the world.